Hello, hello. We are here for our April book chat. I haven't been on here so long. They have changed like the filters on here for live. I don't know what's going on. Let me fix my. Okay, now I don't look so crazy. Hey, you guys. This is our April book chat. Hey, Georgie. Hey, Crystal. April book chat. Thank you guys for joining. Oh, there's a request. Crystal is in the room. Hold on.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing good. How are
I'm
you?
good. I'm loving your background.
Thank you. Thank you so much for rescheduling.
Of
I know
course.
it was yeah, it was I lost a friend and so I had to reschedule. And so I really appreciate you rescheduling with me.
Yes.
For
I'm so sorry about that.
thank you. But I definitely wanted to have this conversation because
Yes.
this book,
Yes.
it's hard.
Yeah, I know. But I love a difficult book.
Yeah.
I love fiction that makes us feel.
It definitely makes you feel. So I'm going to do a
Mm-hmm.
quick intro.
Yes.
Welcome everyone to our April Spine of the Month book chat. Our book for April was The Stone Home by Crystal Hana Kim, and she was debut author in 2018. Her book was called
Mm-hmm.
If You Leave Me, and that was one of our first year reads for Diverse Spines. And we didn't do Instagram live back then, so I was so
Right.
excited to have you come and now talk about this incredible book.
Thank
You are
you.
you're the recipient of the 2022 National Book Foundation's 5 Under 35 Award, nominated by
Mhm.
Minjing Lee.
Yeah.
How how awesome is that?
Thank you.
Yes, so I'm happy to have you here. I'm just gonna dive right in.
Yes.
Um, this book, it was hard to read.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want you to give us we're not doing any spoilers, you guys. So I just want to know,
Yeah.
give me a brief description of the book for everyone in the audience and tell
Mm.
us what was your inspiration for the novel.
Okay. So I always like switch up how I describe the book, but
Hmm.
usually I say it starts in 2011 when a Korean American woman arrives at our narrator's home in Korea with a knife and a demand for the truth. She says, "My father has died and he told me to come find you." So that is how the novel begins.
Yes.
And that encounter forces the woman, our narrator, uh, to think back to her past, to think back to a particular year in 1980 when she and her mother were houseless on the streets and forced into a reformatory center. And there she meets Samchar, our other narrator, who is inside the reformatory center with a brother. And it's really a kind of a dual narrative of this girl, Unju and her mother, and Sangcha and his brother trying to escape the reformatory center.
And so let's talk about that because I think the
Mm-hmm.
one thing that struck me was 1980.
Mm-hmm.
That's not long
That
ago
is
at
not long
all.
ago. Mm-hmm.
And so talk about this because I didn't know anything. That's one thing I love about historical fiction because I'm always learning something new.
Mm-hmm.
And then if the writer does their job, they're going to make you go research, Google, find out more, right? And so that's
Yes.
exactly what happened for me. But I think 1980 is what really stood out to me. And just talk a little bit about what was going on in that time and what happened.
Yeah, 1980, I think that's what also struck me so hard when I first learned about this, is that 1980 is very, very recent history, right?
Yeah.
And we have heard about reformatory centers time and again across cultures, um, but I often usually kind of relegate it to the way back past.
Hmm.
And then I hear about these centers in Korea in 1980, and it just felt so extremely recent. And the reason why these reformatory centers existed was because the South Korean government was trying to win the bid to host the 1988 Olympics. And they wanted to kind of clean up their image. The government thought they had a homelessness issue, and so they decided we are gonna just force children off the streets into these institutions, ostensibly to teach them life skills, but really to just use them for labor and to kind of have an excuse to tidy their image so that they can win the bid. And they did actually host the Olympics, but nobody knows of this history and what was sacrificed in order for
Right.
the Korean government to do that. Yeah.
And so we, how did you find this story?
Mm. I found it. So I was working on If You Leave Me, my
Hmm.
first novel. I was basically done with it. My editor had it at that point, and there's usually a period after you sell a book to when it's out. There's like a year where you're kind of not doing much. You know,
Hmm.
you might do some light edits, and then most of the time you're just waiting and hoping they'll pick a nice cover and
Right.
make the actual book. And it was around then when I read an expose, an Associated Press expose about these reformatory institutions. And it came out that there were the survivors who had been protesting the government, who had been trying to get an acknowledgement, and had always been kind of like hush hush and made secret. But then the Associated Press had this expose, and I just could not stop thinking about the photos. There was a photo of a boy in a blue shirt jumping off a paddy wagon, and he was surrounded by kids. And it was so clear from his face that he was confused but didn't know what was ahead of him, you
Mhm.
know? And then there would be a photo of boys in a like dark, dim room gluing soles onto shoes. There were photos of girls bent over sewing machines. And I just thought about all of these lost youths and how it must have felt to have been forced into an institution and never knowing when you would get out. And I also thought about these ties to all of the other reformatory centers I'd heard of.
Right.
You know, I'd heard of this happening to Indigenous
Yes.
Australians, to First Nations children in Canada, right? The Indian residential schools, to Black Americans here. So it's just the idea of an institution to put away people we deem as less worthy keeps happening again and again, and I that really stuck with me. Like, why and how are humans capable of such cruelty?
Yes.
And when you're in an institution like this, how do you maintain hope? So that was something that really propelled me too.
Yeah, I was thinking about the hope and
Mm.
community the whole time while I was reading this book. Like, how do you endure, right?
Yes,
Um,
yes.
so let's talk about your writing process because there's a couple of things that that comes clear through. I
Mm,
heard you say that you were a sensory detailed focused writer, and I'm going to say this because food, food.
yes.
It's in both of your novels,
So
like
true.
both.
So true.
And it's actually a
Yes.
character. Like it's not like, oh hey, we had a piece of bread. It's not that. It's like
Yeah.
the way you
Yes.
describe it. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. I mean, I didn't even realize until I wrote the first one how much food there was in
Yeah.
that one, and then it just carried over. But I think it's because in Korean culture, like the way you ask someone how they are or the way you show care is to say, "Have you eaten?"
Mm,
Right? And so my parents, my grandparents are always saying like, "Have you eaten?" Food is so important. I think that comes kind of like from the fact that it was so scarce,
uh-huh.
in their childhoods. And then so food has always been this like very big center in my life, Even though my parents were always really busy working, they made a point that we would always sit down to eat dinner. It was just very,
It's a
very
connection.
important. Yes, it's a connection to our heritage and culture,
Hmm.
right? Growing up here, we
Yes.
ate mostly Korean food, and that was a way for us to feel connected to our culture. And I also think that describing food is such a fun way to kind of involve the reader
Yeah.
to get them to like think about their senses and to help them get into the mindset and the body of the character.
Hmm.
Because that's what I'm always trying to do. I'm always trying to get the reader to feel the way that my narrators do. And sensory details are so important, and food is such an important part of how we kind of experience the world.
Yeah, it's like I'm always hungry though.
Yeah.
I'm feeling it to the point where I'm like, I'm starving. Um, Photos tell, they're like very large
Hmm.
in your books.
Hmm.
And so in this book particularly, I want to know, how do you derive the story or develop the story just from looking at the photos? You
Mm.
know, because I do recall you saying that your narrator was not in the story.
Yes. Yes. Wild, right? Um,
Yes, very, because that's such big narrator.
yes, she's a big narrator. Yeah. So, the novel has two narrators, Unju and Sangchar, but Unju, the girl, is like the heart of the novel. She's like spiky and strong and fierce, and she almost didn't make it into the book, which is
I, I
just
I
so
can't even imagine it without her in the book. So I
me
heard you
neither.
say that in the interview, and I was like, wait a minute, she
Yeah.
wasn't in the book.
Yeah, so in the beginning, I am always trying to challenge myself as a writer, and I thought, you know what, I already did the mother-daughter kind of relationship in my first book, so I thought, let me try something new. So I actually thought it was going to be a father-daughter
Mm,
story. So it was actually going to be the boy, Sangcha in 1980 in the Reformatory Center, and then his daughter many years later in 2011. So it was going to be this like Korean American woman wandering around Brooklyn, and she's trying to like figure out her father's past. But I realized that narrative had no movement of its own. She was just kind of like wandering around and lost and
yeah.
moping, and it wasn't a very interesting narrative. And then I was actually at a writing residency. It was the winter because I remember it was snowing, and I was trying to like trudge through this narrative that I kind of in my gut knew wasn't working, of this Korean American girl, and she just kind of like wandering around, and she finds these old photographs of her father's, and she's looking at these photos of her father in the reformatory center, and she notices a girl in the photo. It's a group photo, and she starts wondering, who's that girl? And I'm writing this, and I start wondering, who is that girl? Like, wait a second, how did this girl all of a sudden pop up into my manuscript?
Hmm.
And I couldn't get her out of my head, and I couldn't stop thinking about like, who is this girl, and how did she end up in the reformatory center? What's her story? And that's when I kind of realized, you know what? I'm so drawn to mother-daughter narratives.
Right.
I'm so drawn to strong female narrators, and you can never have enough of those stories. So why am I trying to resist that? And I realized, you know what? I need a girl in the reformatory center as well as this boy, Sangchar, and they can act as foils for each other.
Yes. And so what? Because I mean, I think as a writer, you have your own fascinations for things, right?
Hmm. Oh
What
yeah,
you,
all writers.
all writers do.
Yeah.
And so, what role, if any, did your own fascination did you bring to the story?
Mm.
Because
I
I could pick up a couple.
I would love to hear what you've picked up.
Definitely gender, because
Yes.
I thought even in this reformatory,
Hmm.
the girls are still at the bottom. Everybody's in the same situation,
Yes.
right?
Yes. There's still hierarchies, right?
Yes.
And there's like the boys area, the reformatory center, and the girls are still treated as lower.
Yes.
And I think gender and oppression and the way that women are always kind of their rights are being taken away, that is something that I'm always really interested in.
Mm-hmm.
And, my writerly interests are always going to show up in the book. So that wasn't necessarily even there from the beginning, but the more I started writing about it, the more I realized, oh yeah, there would be a hierarchy within the system, and they're going to treat women as even lower, like as help. They're
Mm.
going to assume that women will just cook and clean and have no agency, and in some ways underestimate the women, which means that I could play with play with that underestimation and maybe give the girls more power,
Yes.
to try to escape or whatever it is. Yeah.
Um, and so we're talking, and like, this is historical fiction, which is
Mm-hmm.
my favorite, like,
Oh, yes.
hands down my favorite. But you deliver historical context that doesn't make it feel like you're reading a history textbook,
Thank,
because that's
thank you.
boring. That's
Yes, I
so
hate
boring.
that.
And it's like you have to read a whole paragraph to understand like one scene,
Yes,
right?
yes. I really dislike books like that,
Yes.
you know? Yeah.
So talk about, and I lose my way when it's like that. I forget like what's going on. And so talk about striking that balance where you're actually, I mean, this is a heavy history story. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it happened. And so
Mm-hmm.
how do you create that balance to deliver the context of history, but not make it seem like so scholarly?
Yes. Yeah, I really just like it when it feels like you're reading a history textbook or
Yes.
you're like you have to
Yeah,
learn. So, sorry.
no problem.
Um, so I like to focus on the sensory details, right? I like to make really interesting characters. Yes, no footnotes,
Nope.
somebody wrote in the comments
See
here.
that?
Um, I like to make it feel really like character driven. So we care about the characters and their problems and their relationships.
Yes.
And all of that means that I'm going to focus on what do they know about the world and then keep our lens really tight to them. Sorry,
Okay.
I need a little cough drop. Yeah, so that all helps me because I hate it when it feels like a history textbook.
Yes.
I think that's
It's like, it's so boring.
boring.
It's
Yeah.
very boring.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I think that it's a definite skill to do that, especially when you're delivering historical fiction. So you're building this world, right?
Mm-hmm.
From photo and
Mm-hmm.
in research. But in your author's note, you talk about that you met a survivor.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yes, and
yeah.
so I did a lot of research with photos, but I knew that I really wanted to talk to someone who had been in the institution because this is real life history. It happened in 1980. I knew there were survivors, and I wanted to make sure I was doing it right by
Hmm.
them. I wanted to be respectful. So I did a lot of work in trying to reach out to survivors. It was really hard to kind of gain contact. But then when I was in Korea in 2018 visiting family, I got in touch with one of the survivors who was in one of the biggest of these institutions called the Brothers Home. And he was in there for years. And now he's a prominent activist who was trying to get recognition from the government and an apology. So I met him and spoke to him all day. He was living outside of the Seoul National Assembly in a makeshift hut,
Mm.
and he had posted up all of these photographs of of what was actually happening in the institution next to photographs of these newspaper articles that were like lauding the institution and the leaders as being these like celebrated heroes of social reform to show the dichotomy of what was really happening versus
Yes.
what was being told to the world.
Because there was a lot of abuse going on in these places.
Yeah, and there was a lot of forced labor,
Hmm.
but but people didn't know about that. They thought that these were really like wonderful places where people were learning skills and being let go, like being freed after 1 year or whatever. But they were actually being forced in there for years. So I spoke to him over lunch, over tea. We just spent hours together talking. And up until then, even though I had been writing this book, I hadn't felt sure it would be my next novel because it's a true story, because there's still survivors. I just wasn't sure if I was the right person to tell the story through a fictional lens.
Hmm.
And then when I talked to the survivor Han Jung-sun, he told me all of this and then asked me to not only witness but to act and to treat the material with care and do something.
Hmm.
And that kind of gave me the courage and the initiative and the determination to write the book.
I mean, I've seen so many articles about it.
Mm,
So I
Mm.
think
Mm-hmm.
you've treated with
Oh,
care and you're telling the story, and so we're talking about it, right?
yeah.
And
I
so
hope
that's, I mean,
so.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've told so many people about this book, and they're like, "What, 1980?"
I
Like, and just the
know.
thought that you're taking people off the street and putting them in places
Yeah.
to have a visual that is acceptable for you to get the Olympics.
Exactly. It's
Yeah,
ridiculous,
it
you
is.
know.
Yeah, it's this place we live in.
I
But anyway,
know. I
I want to also, in the author's note, I want you to talk about this concept because this is something, like you say, we have state sanctioned violence that keeps happening time and time again, right? And the concept of the oppressed becoming the oppressor.
mm-hmm. Yes. Psychologically, that's so interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it happens on a lot of different levels. Systematically, we can talk about it, and also kind of like on the macro level and the micro level. Um, that's something that I had learned about Holocaust camps, that within the institutions, they would use some of the prisoners and make them into guards,
Mm-hmm.
so that they would have to kind of betray their
Yes.
own. And in this institution here, uh, in the brothers' home in 1980 South Korea, they did the same thing where you were a victim within the institution, and then they would kind of elevate you up this ladder so that you would have to guard your own and betray your own. And that's how they create this kind of cutthroat mentality where you cannot trust anyone else.
Yes.
And that really fascinated me because it happens time and again. And it so mirrors our social um, instinct to
Mm-hmm.
preserve ourselves, right? And we see that kind of larger oppressed becoming oppressors all the time.
Yes.
And so that was something that I was really fascinated by and wanted to write about.
Yeah. For those of you who are just joining, we're talking to Crystal Hana Kim about the Stone Home, which is our April Spine of the Month. And so let's talk a little bit about your characters. We're not going to give anything away
Mhm.
because they're all very interesting.
Oh, oh, thank you.
And so tell us if there was a favorite to rate and then the hardest to rate.
Of the characters,
Mm-hmm.
I love Unju, the main narrator, the heart. She's kind of like a prickly girl in the
Yes.
beginning. She doesn't trust people very easily, but it makes sense knowing her life story
Yeah.
once you understand her life story. And I really enjoyed writing her because once I knew that she was going to be the voice of the novel, I wanted her narrative arc to be of one of her opening up and learning to trust and finding community. So I found a lot of hope in her narrative. And I also just love writing like strong, saucy,
Yeah.
fierce
Yes.
female characters.
Yes.
So she was my favorite. Um, I also loved, there's a character named Teho, which I won't talk about too much, but he's one of the boys in the institution, and he's a gentle soul.
Mm-hmm.
And those kind of people in your life who you feel like they just kind of exude a vulnerability and you want to
Mm-hmm.
take care of them.
Yes.
They're naive in a sense and innocent. So he's one of those, and I really cared for him a lot, and also wanted to protect him, but also the novel does what the novel has to
It
do,
does.
you know? Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
And so as we're walking through their relationship, I want to know, aside from their circumstance
hmm
and where they are, um, what ties them together?
mm Well, something that I really wanted to examine was this idea of love within community, right? Family love, friendship love,
Mm-hmm.
that the kind of bonds we make, especially in moments of condensed depression, right? And how do we overcome difference? How do we overcome our own insecurities and feelings of mistrust in order to survive,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because though the novel is about difficult subject matter, I also wanted it to feel hopeful
Yes.
in a sense,
And
and
how
to
do you do
be,
that? Because it's a tough, I mean, it's hard.
yeah, it's a tough book, but I wanted it to feel hopeful in the sense that though I'm revealing such a difficult part of humanity and what we are capable of, hopefully I'm also counteracting that by showing uh, the kind of breadth of our generosity and our care and our ability to come together to buoy each other.
Yeah, you definitely go to the hard parts of history and
Yeah.
telling your first book.
hmm I
And
am drawn to difficult
yes,
subject matter.
you,
I
but deliver
am.
it beautifully on the
Thank
page.
you.
But you are drawn to difficult subject matters for
Yes.
sure.
Yeah.
Because your first book was set during the Korean War.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But because I think for me, it's like I want to understand the way humans are shaped, our endurance, our resilience.
Frozen. What happened? I can't hear you.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Now I can hear you.
That was
Hmm.
so weird. It
Did it
just
cut
kind of
off?
blanked out. Yeah. Okay. You
I,
can hear me though.
I can hear you.
Okay. Um, I'm interested on a personal level in these moments of difficulty and how humans survive and
Hmm.
endure, right? And I think on a personal level, as a Korean American, I wanted to write about the Korean War and then this difficult part of Korean history in the 1980s, because I'm creating kind of a lineage for myself towards the present.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, I'm hoping that the novels still feel universal because war, oppression, the ways in which women endure,
Hmm.
and survive, all of these kind of themes can relate to a universal audience. So
Yeah.
I really believe that when people write something very specific and true to them, it'll have a broader appeal.
Yeah. And is there, I mean, is there a want and desire to like really know more about your heritage and where you came from and the history of that place in the
hmm
land that where you didn't grow up?
Yes. Yeah, because I was born in New York,
Yeah.
and Korean was my first language, but I didn't live in Korea for long periods of time.
Hmm.
My mom is one of five daughters, and she's the only one in America. So we would go back to Korea often, but it's not the same,
Right. It's
as growing up in a different
hmm
in my mother tongue or my homeland or whatever we call it. And there's this gap and distance because my parents were born there, and there's just going to be these cultural differences between us.
hmm
Uh, and so I think I was always trying to yearn to bridge that gap between me and my parents, between me and my family in Korea by learning more about the past,
Yeah.
you know.
You can tell it comes through.
Oh,
You definitely can
oh,
tell. Yeah.
thank you.
And speaking of language,
hmm
let's talk about using Korean language in your novel. You
Yes.
center the language.
Yes,
And
yes,
so
yes.
I think like for as white as publishing still is,
hmm
right?
Yeah.
And the things that you would have never seen
Oh,
a couple of years ago. I'm not even going to give it
oh,
a decade.
yes. Oh, 4 years ago,
Yeah, you're being okay. Yeah.
you know?
So centering the language and it makes people engage with the text. Like you, I love how unapologetic it is because you don't explain. It's like
hmm
this is what it is on the page, and if you want to know the context and the meaning of it, go
Yeah.
Google research.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Thank you so much because I wanted it to be unapologetic,
Yes.
And I knew going in, there's going to be a lot of transliterated Korean and then also some moments where you just see the Korean language, Hangul, pop up. And I knew that that was going to be kind of divisive for readers. I knew that it would make the book more difficult to read for a general non-Korean speaking audience. Um, but I felt really passionate about doing it that way. And my team, my editorial team, is very, very supportive. But like sometimes you have to make choices as a writer to kind of prioritize the art over maybe like mass appeal.
Hmm.
And that's something that I decided to do because it was so important to me to make sure that the narrative felt true to my narrators. And they are in Korea. They're speaking Korean. They're eating
Yes.
Korean food. Of course, there's going to be a lot of Korean in the
Hmm.
text. And I wanted to be unapologetic about it. And I wanted to trust that my readers would come to, meet the
Yes.
challenge of either going with the flow, reading the context and continuing or looking it up.
Yeah, because if is that not what reading is? Like, right?
Yes, yes.
It's yes. Um,
Thank you.
yes. So I heard you say, like I do my research. I heard you
I
say
know. Yeah.
that you talked about being a better person when you are writing.
Oh yeah.
And I relate to this in a different way. And I'm gonna tell you my way after you explain what does this mean to you.
Yes. Well, I'm a mom
Mm.
now, right?
I know,
And
congratulations. And yeah, two babies.
yes, I'm a two babies since my first book.
Yes.
Um, and so there are all these different kind of responsibilities that I have, mom, partner, teacher, all of this. But if I am not writing, I'm just like a crankier person,
Yeah.
like I'm just like, if I'm cranky and things are off and it just like the world feels kind of gray and I'm being snappy and I'm wondering why, it's probably because I haven't written, you know?
So mine is the same, but it's reading.
Ah, yes.
Yes. So like some people say, oh, if I don't work out, I'm cranky. I'm like,
Hmm.
if I do not read every day, it's just something, I
Yes.
am definitely not in a great mood.
Yes. Oh, I don't need a workout, but I gotta write. And you have to read.
I have to read. So definitely. And I'm not
Yes.
talking about like anything for work. I'm talking about I have to read for my own pleasure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's so important to
Super
like
cranky.
know what makes you
Yeah.
you and that, like reading is for you and writing is for me. Like I need that.
So I have a couple more questions. I'm going to wrap it on up.
Yes.
But this is such a, I hate using the word devastating, but it's a
Mm.
heartbreaking novel.
Mm-hmm.
Especially,
Mm-hmm.
I don't like using words like that when it's like actual history. I don't want to erase anyone's story, right? Because it
Mm-hmm.
happened. Um, but did you find joy in any part of writing this?
Yeah. So I knew it was going to be difficult subject matter, and so I knew that I needed to create moments of joy in the book for
Hmm.
myself, which is why I really focused on friendship. The
Yes.
I wanted to make sure that Unju, the narrator, really opened herself up to friendship and the power of that, and the power of like learning to care for one another and letting yourself be vulnerable, right? And allowing others to care for you. That kind of theme gave me some joy. Adding in the
Yeah.
Korean and being unapologetic about
Food.
it, the food. And I also I did this with my first book too, but this is like the English nerd, like English major nerd in me. I make different colors mean something, have themes and meanings in the book.
Hmm.
So I did like those kind of little Easter eggs. Like if you track the color red, it's connected to one particular character. If you
Hmm.
track the color green, it means something. So I like to do those kind of Easter eggs for myself, and that keeps it fun for me
Very
too.
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And so you mentioned your first novel,
Yes.
If You Leave Me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, debut author.
Mm-hmm.
And so what's different about your write? Has anything changed in you as a writer, like from writing that first book
Mm-hmm.
to writing The Stone Home? What has changed for you? Has your writing process changed? What craft have you developed over
Mm.
that time?
Oh, I love that question. Well, when you're writing your first book, you don't even know if you'll be able to finish it. Um, I had never written a full book before. If You Leave Me was my first book. I know
Yeah.
some writers will write a book and then kind of like put it in their drawer. But this was, If You Leave Me was my first book, and I just didn't even know, would I even get to the last page? And, do I have it in me to write a book? And then with the Stone Home, I had that confidence of knowing like I know how to write a book. Like I know I can do it. That base level of confidence was there. But the writing every day is still so hard because you're writing a whole new world.
Yeah.
You have to get to know the characters again. You're still staring at a blank document.
Mm-hmm.
So that daily writing can be difficult, but I had that underlying confidence of I can keep going. And then I had two kids.
Yeah.
So I realized how precious time is.
Yes.
And I'll often wonder and think like, what was I doing before my two kids? Like, what,
You had a
that's
lot more
probably
time.
I had a lot more time. I was probably watching TV and
Right.
sleeping.
For
Um,
sure.
but yeah, there are all these like new time constraints on my
Hmm.
day. But that also, I think, kind of like lights a fire under me and makes me want to keep writing too.
And I know that you are a reader.
Mm-hmm.
And so, can you tell us what you're reading or what you've loved recently? I
Yes.
always like to ask for
Yes.
recommendations for our
Yes.
audience.
Let's see. I one book that I really want to shout out and I'm so excited about is Swift River by
Oh
S.C.
my
Chambers.
gosh! Yes!
Have you read it?
Very good.
So good. So it's a debut coming out in June. I
Hmm.
don't remember the exact date. But soon.
Yes, Essie Chambers.
S.C. Chambers. So S.C. and I went to grad school together.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I met Diamond, the main character in Swift River, a decade ago. And I
Awesome.
read like some of these passages a decade ago, and now I get to see this final version.
Oh,
Um,
awesome.
so Swift River by S.E. Chambers is a debut coming out next month, and I want to like shout it from the rooftops.
Hmm.
It's a really, really beautiful book. My friend Aro Kwan's novel is coming out tomorrow,
Yes,
second
tomorrow.
novel called Exhibit,
Hmm.
and it's so good, very sexy, and fraught, and the sentences are very spare. And it's about art and ambition and desire. So those two I would highly recommend.
Awesome. And so, before I let you go, I have to know what's coming next and
Ooh.
when, if there's a when.
I, I don't know about when because I feel like I'm like the world's slowest writer.
So, how long did it take you to write the Stone Home?
Well, my novel published in 2018 and it's 2024, so 6 years in between.
So
Um,
you had
I
kids.
did have kids,
Yeah.
and those, the whole coronavirus pandemic
Yes.
really
Oh,
messed with everybody. So I'm hoping this third book will be faster than that, but
okay.
no firm date. But I'm moving closer to the present,
Okay.
and it'll be set in New York, and
Oh,
it'll be like a interesting, intimate relationship dynamic, I think, between three people. Uh,
okay.
and there'll be like a class dynamic situation.
That sounds interesting. And you're taking us to New York.
Yes, yes, New York, and more not present day, but closer.
Closer.
Yeah.
And so, with the Stone Home, what do you want readers to take away from
Mm.
this book?
Um,
Before you answer that, though, I have to
mhm.
shout out that your blurb is from Min Jin Lee on the front
Yeah,
of this book.
yes,
Yes,
yes.
that's pretty hot.
Thank you.
That's really
Thank
hot.
you.
So,
I
yes.
know, I feel very grateful for my
Oh
blurbs.
my goodness. Yeah,
I
that's a good
had
one.
some very kind people reading it.
Yeah.
What do I want people to take away? I think two things. One, it's so easy in our world of being inundated with news to just kind of look away from the hard
Hmm.
stuff, you know? And I think one would one kind of message that I hope I can spread is to not look away, right? To make sure you're witnessing and engaging.
Mm,
And
that
the other part is to also find hope in our humanity and our community in the care that we show one another.
yeah.
And I think those two go hand in hand, really.
That is so awesome. That is a word indeed. Wow.
Mm,
That is. Well, thank you so much. I so appreciate you.
I appreciate
Such
you so much.
such a great book, and I'm so glad that you said yes.
Thank you
And when you
so
write another
much for
book, you
having.
come back again because I know I'm going to have you
Oh,
back.
thank you. Thank you for
Of
having me.
course.
You've been such a wonderful supporter
Thank
since the beginning, and what you do in elevating these diverse books is so needed in our publishing industry. So,
thank you so much. Thank you guys for joining. We'll be back. I'll be back in June for the May book.
yes,
So thanks a lot. Have a
thank
good night.
you. Have a
Bye.
good night. Bye.